Good afternoon and welcome to Administrative Issues and Updates on November 4th, 2025. County Administrator Gary Schmidt, would you please call the roll for us?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Roll call. Commissioner Savas.
Present.
Commissioner Helm.
Here.
Commissioner Schrader.
Here.
Commissioner West.
Here.
Chair
Finally.
Roberts.
Here. Thank you, Gary. What's up?
Would you please convene as the Housing Authority Board, Chair?
Okay, I'll do that. We'll now recess as the Board of County Commissioners and convene as a Housing Authority Board. And I'll turn back to you, Gary.
Thank you. Your meeting now is the Housing Authority of Clackamas County Board of Directors. Joining you online is Housing Resident Commissioner Ann Leenstra. Good morning, Commissioner Leenstra.
Good morning.
Thank you for your patience. This item is naming of new Housing Authority building at Hillside Park. Mary Rumbaugh, Director of Health, Housing, Human Services, will present. Go ahead, please, Mary.
Good morning, Chair Roberts and Commissioners. Thanks for having me. So just very quickly, I'm really here to talk about as we are redeveloping Hillside Park, which is our 14-acre community. We do have a new 100-unit apartment building that is coming online that is part of Hillside Park. The building is situated at the intersection of Southeast Community Parkway and Southeast Blossom Way. So the name Blossom and Community Apartment serves really as a wayfinding for individuals who are coming into the community to be able to find the building. But it's important to note it's actually a nod to our robust resident gardens that are installed in the property's courtyard as well. So I'm really here today to seek your approval in naming the new apartment, 100-unit apartment, the Blossom and Community Apartments at Hillside Park.
Thank you, Mary. Questions from my colleagues? Seeing none, may I have a motion?
I move we approve the name Blossom and Community Apartments for the new building at Hillside Park.
Second.
Commissioner Helm has moved to approve the name Blossom and Community Apartments for the new building at Hillside Park. Commissioner Schrader seconded. Any further discussion? Commissioner West.
Is the dogwood flower because it's a symbol of Milwaukee? Is it tied because it's in Milwaukee city limits and the dogwood has historical significance to the city?
Great question. I will get. I don't know the answer to that.
I think that's the flower. We don't have a flower. I wish we had a flower, Gary.
There's your flower.
In your
Milwaukee has a flower. I think it's the dogwood, and there's a historical significance to the dogwood in Milwaukee. They also have like a really good logo. I don't know. They're doing good branding and marketing out of the city of Milwaukee. But yeah, I think it's a great name. This is the fun stuff we get to do.
Correct.
And after the morning we've had, we could use a little lighthearted fun. So
Thrilled to make that happen.
thank you.
How about a county song also?
A motto in like
A song. No, an actual song.
I think Oregon has a song.
She flies with her own wings.
Is that the motto?
She flies with her own wings.
Yeah.
Let's make it happen.
I'm afraid what that song might be. Okay, clerk, would you please call the poll?
Commissioner Leenstra.
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader.
Aye.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Commissioner Helm.
Aye.
Mr. Chair.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Linkster. You're always participating. I want to thank you for your commitment to the county. Thank you very much for being here.
You're welcome.
I will now adjourn as the Housing Board and reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners. Gary?
Thank you. Next is Oregon Housing Needs Analysis Rulemaking Concerns Draft Letter. Dan Johnson, Director of Transportation and Development, will present. There's a draft letter in your packet for your review. Go ahead, please, Dan.
Good morning, Chair Roberts, Commission. Keeping on that theme of fun stuff, we are here today to request your authorization to sign the attached letter for submittal to the state. This can go deep in a heartbeat, so I'm going to keep it really high level. In 2023, House Bill 2001 directed the Land Conservation and Development Commission, LCDC, to implement the Oregon Housing Needs Analysis. This is basically a directive from the state for jurisdictions to try to foster and achieve certain housing targets in cities and in counties at different income levels, okay? And so LCDC has looked to the Department of Land Conservation and Development to develop rulemaking around these objectives and how it's going to be, and how we are going to implement these procedures to achieve these targets. They've already approved the housing needs and production strategy in January 1 of 2025. They've also approved the housing accountability adopted January 1st of 2025. This is in regards to the housing capacity and urbanization framework and the strategies around the rulemaking around that. The letter has a lot of lovely terms, which you may not be familiar with, but I want to really break it down into a couple different things. One, we, and I say we are amongst a group of individuals throughout the region and the state that, one, have concerns about the analytical and administrative burden of some of the rules that are being created by the state to achieve this objective. Number two, the state has been gracious enough to give us a model code, and that model code has requirements in it, and there is a timing for the implementation of that model code, which we are objecting to. We think it should be optional, not required. And then last but not least is essentially kind of the presumption that that model code is going to be more efficient and effective in achieving these targets versus some of the local criteria and standards that we would be looking to adopt. It kind of comes down to those three various criteria, those three various objections. I don't really want to say objections, just more highlighting that for the state. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have regarding the letter. Again, we are simply asking for the board to authorize the chair to sign the letter attached so we can submit it to the state for comments.
Comments? Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, well, I think just the fact that all the different agencies or organizations cited in the first paragraph are all locked together demonstrates the, number one, the need for the letter and the state to reassess its position. I think it'd also be advantageous maybe to put all our signatures on it, frankly. This is really a big deal. It's bigger than this, obviously, but as you know, I think we are being bogged down by more bureaucracy and more regulation that's going to actually slow it down and actually impede the intent of speeding things up and making it easier. That's the irony in this. It's just sad. So I support the letter I move to support the letter with the amendment of adding also our signatures.
I'll second.
Right. So Commissioner Savas has moved to approve the comment letter as presented with the amendment of all commissioners' signatures. Commissioner West has seconded that. Any further discussion? Seeing none, clerk, please call the poll.
Commissioner Schrader.
Aye.
Commissioner Helm.
Aye.
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Mr. Chair.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Gary,
so-
what's next?
Thank you, and I want to correct myself. The Oregon state song is actually called Oregon, My Oregon, adopted in 1927. The Oregon motto is She Flies With Her Own Wings. Wanted to clarify that. Thank you. Next is Public Service Building, Heating and Cooling System Control Updates. This is an item that is requested for your consent agenda. You haven't heard about it before, so as always, we start at issues to make sure you're comfortable with it. The actual title for the staff report is Approval of a Public Improvement Contract with Johnson Controls for Heating and Cooling Control System Upgrades at the Clackamas County Public Services Building. Contract value is $670,511 for 8 months. Funding is through budgeted county general funds. Elizabeth Comfort, Finance Director, Jeff Jorgensen, Facilities Director. Go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you. Elizabeth Comfort, Finance Director. Good morning, Chair Roberts and Commissioners. So the unit that we have here in PSB is about 22 years old. We do have the funds for this. They initially were in contingency, but we moved this up to expedite the replacement of the HVAC system. These dollars were originally earmarked for the HVAC system for our animal control in our capital projects list, but we are able to get parts for that unit, so it's not quite a crisis. This unit that we have, about 30% of the controls are out of function, and we can no longer get parts. So Chuck Kearns, one of our facilities folks is actually manually monitoring and controlling the parts here. It is a replacement, but it's an upgrade to the system that's in the current building. With this upgrade to this replacement, we'll be able to control it and monitor it ourselves with our own staff rather than relying on Johnson Control, which is going to bring in more efficiency and cost savings in the long run. The replacement itself will take about a month, but we asked for the contract to extend 8 months through the end of the current fiscal year, just in case there's other issues that come up that we need them to come back. And as you replace large systems, there may be issues to address. I also want to note that the DSB, which is just behind the age of the PSB, the Public Safety Building, Public Services Building, is due to have its HVAC system replaced in 3 years. So we are already currently looking at those costs, the extent of replacing the DSB. So that will be forthcoming.
All right. Questions? Commissioner West?
How old is this system?
About 22 years old,
Is that about the normal lifespan of a system like this?
20 years.
20 years?
So we've been limping already.
We've been limping along. Just a little point of clarification. What is the one that we are able to still get parts for and maintain? Where's that one again?
Yeah, and apologize for the confusion. So we had these dollars already budgeted to replace the HVAC system in our animal shelter.
Okay.
But that HVAC system, we can still get parts for. We can no longer get parts for this HVAC system in the PSB.
Okay. So it's a month to get done. Why the 8 months if it's only a month? What other engagement would the manufacturer need to have with us over 8 months?
Hopefully, we can get it done in a month. Just to make sure we have enough time to parts and materials, plus billing. You know,
Okay.
We have to have all the bills in, have that all processed before the contract closes out.
Okay. And when will we undergo this repair, this replacement?
As soon as we can get it going.
Okay.
And
Thank
it
you.
won't, the building will still be operational, but just like Elizabeth said, we're basically babysitting it along and manually operating a lot of these.
So for like a month, will we have no heat?
No.
No, there'll be no loss of service.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Commissioner Helm?
I'm sorry because we were just presented with, so what kind of warranty comes with this new unit?
I don't know, usually the contractor has a couple-of-year warranty on the materials. I don't know, Chuck, do you know exactly how much warranty?
It's a year warranty on parts and labor.
Please repeat that because that wasn't on the mic.
1 year warranty.
1 year warranty. So you're leaving this open because after installation, things go wrong, things crop up that may happen after installation, and it just kind of keeps you, this is like your own warranty period, the 8 months?
This contract, so it should be paid off by that time. When
Oh,
you're
it
in the
should be paid
1 year,
off by
when you,
that
1 year warranty, it's up to the contractor to get them in here and do it, and they should be all under warranty at that period of time. After that, we maintain it, repair parts and materials as required.
Commissioners, we always give cushion on our county contracts, just for whatever reason, that there's a paperwork processing delay, the project may go longer than it needs. That way, we don't have to keep coming back to you. So 8 months, it will not take 8 months for this project. We're giving us cushion just in case.
Okay, got it.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? All right, there's no concerns. We'll place this on the consent agenda for our business meeting this Thursday, November 6th, and thank you both very much.
Thank
Gary?
you.
Thank you. Next item is County Budget Development Code Amendment. I brought this to you earlier, a few months ago, Commissioners. I want to bring it back to you one last time before we schedule the first public hearing on the code change. So back in May at the Budget Committee meetings, there were several motions the Budget Committee made, one of which was to codify a 30-year financial forecast and to have it audited by an external vendor. So I offered to you, let's put all of the county's main budget policies into code to hold us all accountable, primarily staff, but also the board and future boards. So we heard your feedback from the last time I discussed this with you. The attachment A shows what has been added. So I'll cover the whole thing. We require a 30-year financial forecast that is reviewed annually by an external party with expertise in forecasting, that any change in general fund expenditures, especially if a department is going to need more than they were budgeted, I'm going to come to you immediately and not wait for May to tell you that. We've added language about supplemental budgets must meet Oregon state law and local budgeting manuals by the Oregon Department of Revenue. That's the underlined section which has been added since we last met. That the budget must be balanced, structurally sound, and sustainable, and offers definitions of such, and that I, as your budget officer, am required to submit a proposed budget to you that meets all three definitions. The last page, adding the budget contingency and reserves policy that does exist but was not listed in the prior version of this potential code. So I am asking today, do you have any further edits? Are you satisfied with this draft? And then ultimately, we'll bring this to the first public hearing for the code change as soon as you're ready to do that. Happy to answer your questions or take additional feedback.
All right. Seeing no questions, can I have a motion?
Well, Chair, actually, I just have one question I want to ask the administrator.
Go ahead, sir.
So, Gary, just in final review here, I see at the very beginning, it talks about the 30-year forecast. And from there forward, unless I missed it, I'm just wondering if you feel it would strengthen anything under the section 2.16.030, the last section, to add any reference to the 30-year budget or anywhere in there? I mean, the 30-year forecast that's sustainable for a 30-year period?
Yes, I know what you're saying. Sure. The county administrator, the last sentence of that section. County administrator shall develop and implement a budget framework policy, including budget principles and procedures, and I can't think off the, yes, add about, and we'll make sure that the 30-year forecast is in the red. There's a better way to write that.
Or in the black?
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was a slip, in the black.
We're not Multnomah County.
In the black, sorry, yes. If you'll allow me to wordsmith it offline, but I can add that section.
So, Chair, I move we direct staff to schedule the first required public hearing for approval of the county code amendment with the amendments made today.
Second.
All right, Commissioner Savas has moved to direct staff to schedule the first required public hearing, approval of the county code amendment as presented with the amendments mentioned. Any further discussion? Clerk, please call the poll.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner Helm,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Mr. Chair,
Aye.
motion passes 5-0, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Gary?
Thank you. We'll get both of these hearings done by the end of this calendar year, so we'll expedite this as soon as, I think, next week, actually. We'll get this moving. Thank you. Next, Board Team Building Retreat Agenda Review. So Commissioners, you've agreed to hold a team building retreat, which is next Thursday, November 13th, at approximately noon to 5 p.m. That's flexible based on when your business meeting ends next Thursday. The location will be at the Stone Creek Golf Club Community Room where you've met before. It is only for you, the 5 commissioners, and your 2 employees, myself and Billy. No other staff will be present. We are using the same facilitator that worked with you in March during your team building retreat. Executive Forum Company, Samantha Doyle will be your facilitator. I don't have a printed agenda for you, but here's what she's told me. She wants to have it as an entirely interactive, activity-based team building retreat where you will review and analyze how you're doing with your board working agreements. Are you meeting them or not? Review the leadership assessment test you took in March, and since then Commissioner Helm has also taken the test, so we have that to add to your review, and Billy has taken the test as well, and I previously took it. So we'll see how we as a 7-member team work together. She will use experiential activities, team games, guided reflections, and also review the 5 dysfunctions of a team leadership training that you started in March. So the goal is simply for how you work together as a team. The intent is not to bring up policy issues at your retreat, although if that's what I'm going to ask you if you do want to do that, but this is mostly meant to be a team building, discussion of how you work together. Now, you can bring up things you want to talk about related to how you work together, but I ask that you don't bring up policy issues at this retreat unless you tell me otherwise. So again, I don't have anything to show you other than I'm telling you verbally what the intent is for this retreat. We'll feed you lunch and then aim for ending by 5 p.m. next Thursday. Do you have any questions or concerns with this proposed agenda for next Thursday?
Appears none. Gary?
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Next, Advisory Board and Commissions appointment. Andrew, go ahead, please.
Mr. Chair, the Community Health Council, staffed by the Health, Housing, and Human Services Department, has an opening for a consumer representative. Council members voted unanimously to support the recommendation appointee. The recommendation is as follows. Tara Schafstall to a second term ending November of 2027. The Board of County Commissioners could select other candidates or require further recruitment, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any questions of the candidates?
Were there other candidates?
No, Commissioner Savis, as this is a reappointment.
All right. May I have a motion?
Chair, I move that we approve the reappointment of Tara, I'm going to try, is it Schafstall, to the Community Health Council. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Commissioner West has moved to approve the reappointment of Tara Schafstall to the Community Health Council. Commissioner Schrader seconded. Any further discussion? I see Commissioner Helm.
So, yeah, Commissioner Savas asked if this was, okay, I'm just questioning the process for these. Do we put all of these appointment processes out for the public to try, or do we just automatically? I mean, we've had a little pushback in the recent past, and I'm just wondering if we're maybe reappointing too soon without going out and looking for new folks.
So yes, we have a very robust outreach process for all of our advisory boards and commissions. Public and Government Affairs supports that work. On the county website, there's an application that's posted on the website for all advisory boards. The committee itself sends word out through its networks related to the expertise of that committee. We have it open for at least a month, sometimes longer. Sometimes we reopen it if there has not been a lot of applicants. And then staff reviews the applicants. Sometimes they're interviewed by members of the advisory board, and then it always comes to you for action. Now, in this case, the Community Health Council does have some specific seats where there must be some specific requirements. So it may be in this case where this person had to meet a specific requirement, and that's why there are either not many other applicants or because of the narrowness of which they had to be appointed, which Andrew's nodding, that is the case for this particular seat.
Okay.
I see, thank you. Good to know.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Savas.
So based on that, I see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 vacancies with no particular description of what any occupation or background requirements. As I read this, is that accurate?
My understanding, Commissioner, is that there is currently 6 members. Its bylaws do require a minimum of 9 members. They're attempting to fill it out. The materials in your packet are in the midst of being updated.
Okay, so getting back to, I think, the point, perhaps, I think, maybe what Commissioner Helm was saying, what is the process? Are we actively recruiting for these positions? And despite or regardless of the reappointment, why are we having so much trouble? This is not the first time I've noticed this on this particular committee, but are we actively recruiting, or are we just trying to do the minimum of 9?
We are actively recruiting, but I'd like to have Mary come back and brief you in more detail. Either if you're willing to move forward today, or we can hold this and bring it back next week and have her brief you. But either way, I'll have her brief you. Are you comfortable moving forward today, or would you like to pause until we have a further update?
I'm comfortable moving forward. I just wanted questions answered.
We'll get a full briefing, though, on the background for you.
All right. Well, with that being said, Clerk, would you please call a poll?
Commissioner Schrader.
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Helm.
Aye.
Commissioner Savis.
Aye.
Mr. Chair.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Gary, what's next?
Next, review of your board business meeting agenda for this Thursday, November 6, 2025 at 10 a.m. You have quite a bit this week. You have public communication, of course, and then 2 presentations. The first, the county assessor, Rueda, will give you an update on property taxes, because statements have already been mailed out to all residents, as well as you will review Honor Veterans Day, which is coming up the following week, an approval of a resolution to recognize veterans and designate Clackamas County as a green light for veterans in Clackamas County. Thank you to Commissioner Schrader, who's been advocating for this for a long time. Next, a public hearing on approval of an annexation of a property in Clackamas, and then a consent agenda for the Board of County Commissioners and Water Environment Services. If you have any questions on any item, if you'd please let me know, and I'm happy to answer it for you prior to Thursday, or have staff in the room for you to answer your questions on Thursday. Thank you. Back to you, Chair. The last item is Commissioner Communications.
Thank you, Gary. I turn to Martha.
Okay. I'm always the first one to nod.
You
so
are.
have to. Well, I think we're all going to mention this, but yesterday, we were all in the rainy, wet weather, where I was wearing my blue Smurf coat.
Smart.
Which keeps me dry and warm. We were at the ribbon cutting for our stabilization center in Milwaukee. And as my friend to my right, Commissioner West would say, it's part of our continuum of care that we are working on here in this county, and all of us are on board with that. You've been a champion. And my understanding is that you and Commissioner Savas hopefully had a brief conversation with the governor so we can remind her that what we're doing here is unique. It's important. It's really going to change the landscape of how we work on recovery and addiction services, not just for our county, but hopefully a model for the rest of the state. And I thank you guys, my colleagues, because it's your talent that has brought this forward. I've just been privileged to be part of that conversation, actually. So that was the first thing I wanted to mention. Second thing, I want to just recognize a friend and a colleague who has passed away, and that is Brigadier General Dan Hitchcock, and has passed away, and he's going to be, his celebration of life is coming up. I believe it's this coming Friday. It's on my schedule. I'll let you folks know if you want to, but he was a close friend and a mentor. Back in the day when our Guard was getting deployed, he was one of the generals that stepped forward to recognize that and really helped us pull together a whole program dealing with helping our veterans. And this is appropriate for Veterans Day that's coming up. But he was a great soul and a mentor for me. And he actually helped myself and Shelley Perini when we were doing kind of continuing education. He was one of our coaches, and I know you knew him too. So we'll miss you, Brigadier General, and you are a great soul, but your light will shine on in all the work that we do in this county for our veterans, and will continue to do. So that's about it for me, so. Yeah.
Thank you.
Right.
Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, just to briefly kind of cap what Commissioner Schrader talked about with our conversation with the governor yesterday. Just a little bit of background. This particular site location where the recovery center is going to go is something that way back I encouraged the board and staff to take a look at it, because I thought it had a lot of possibilities in regards to some of our public services, that we kind of have a more centralized opportunity geographically in the county. So when I took Commissioner West out there to see the property, he saw an opportunity for a component of that, which is the recovery center. And there's still, again, there's that campus, which we just did approve the land use process, has opportunities for housing and workforce housing and all kinds of opportunities, as well as adjacent properties that could be acquired. So, in light of that, we had an opportunity to speak briefly to the governor yesterday at the ribbon cutting. just let her know, I don't think she was aware that out of that bucket of money, we had our $10 million ask that, which I think was moved towards, well, you may not get 10, but you might get 2.5, but I'm not sure she was aware we got 0 until yesterday. So I think she kind of gave a commitment to work on it. It's
Yeah.
fair. Not a commitment to fund it, but a commitment to work on it and look into it and work with our staff and perhaps set up a Zoom meeting with whoever she feels is required. But hopefully she can help us get that component complete. It'll help that continuum that we're all working on. And so I'm hopeful that she'll put some efforts there and we can find a way to make that successful. Getting back to, in a way, we kind of covered it when we talked about the new policy or the new code amendment we're going to make regarding budget. I would urge or like, just knowing as this year's developed and some unexpected expenses, that we are, we're poised to be in the red. And I think we've taken a lot of pride and effort in trying to be in the black. And I'm constantly asked, well, how far or where are we? And I know that's dynamic, but I would like to get and Gary, just to confirm, we haven't had the PERS adjustment baked in yet. When do we think we'll have that? Do you think?
I don't know. I'll find out.
Okay. But my point here today is, number one, is just draw attention that we got to make some adjustments, and it's going to put us all in a terrible position as when it comes to making cuts. But I would like to have an idea of some kind of a place or a running total, so I know I can grab to it at least. I mean, I know it's a number that's dynamic. It's not anything we're going to hold to, but I just want to get a better idea, knowing that this PERS liability is going to have another impact on us. And help guide our decisions going forward, because we do make decisions up here regularly that have an impact on our budget. So that's what I have for today. Chair, I'll yield back.
Thank you. Commissioner West.
Yeah, yesterday was exciting. It was a little rainy. It was definitely an Oregon day, and we were under the tents, and the whole community was there, a number of electeds, community members, service providers. It's a fantastic building, the Stabilization Center. That's been a long time coming. It's beautifully done. It's trauma-informed. It's completely fits beautifully within our recovery-oriented system of care. It is absolutely recovery-focused infrastructure, which has been the focus of this county. We have been laser-focused since we implemented the recovery-oriented system of care and building out that whole care continuum. I was happy to be there with my colleagues. Back to the recovery campus, which is very nearby, Commissioner's office did take me there. And on one of my ride-alongs with him as he was introducing me to the community and that part of our county. And my eyes got real big and a smile like a kid at Christmas, because the potential there, as he was correct in noticing and advocating for, was immense. And it has seemed to be a perfect fit for what we're trying to do. And we're really excited by that. It's innovative, it's different, it's what has been lacking in this state, it's what residents have been begging for from the state and the metro area. And we were shocked when that state funding was 0. And I really do appreciate, I pulled the governor aside after we were under the rainy tents and the event was over, and I said, Governor, I know you're busy, but myself and Commissioner's office would just love a minute of your time if you're willing to do that. And she made sure, she pulled us into a side room, and we had a conversation about the impact, not just to Clackamas, but this impacts the region, this type of project. And she asked really pointed, good questions. She was concerned. This does have a lot to do. The funding that we didn't get was because of the crisis Oregon has found itself in, because it's in contempt of a court case and now is facing hefty daily fines because of the admissions issues into the psychiatric hospital down in Salem. And there's also aid and assist, and so that is a big issue and an expensive one the state is having to face. I'm not here to debate that or have a policy discussion on that specific issue. But she did indicate that that was a reason why we did not see the $10 million ask, even though we were led to believe that we were a phenomenal candidate and likely to receive something. So Gary, she would like us to continue conversations. She was open to a site visit. She also was incredibly busy and was open to just a Zoom call. So it's not quite sure where we're at with that, but I think it is essential that we follow up with her. We are going into the short session. There should be lobbying activities with the entire Clackamas caucus. The Senate leader is in our county. It's a large bipartisan group of legislators, and both sides of the aisle support this project, this important project. But this is what we have to do to get people the care that they deserve in a sustainable way that actually helps people become whole and healed again. So I really appreciated the opportunity. I mean, it's opportunities like that that can really turn something around. And so, Governor, thank you for taking the time, even though it was just a few minutes. It's all we needed, but it was an important few minutes. And I know that Commissioner Savas and I are greatly appreciative of that. And I'll end with this in my statement, is that the people that are struggling in our streets, those that fall themselves in drug-induced psychosis, those that are passed out and stepped over, those that still struggle with overdosing in the stoop of a business, in a door stoop, they're not Republicans, they're not Democrats, they're not a specific religion, they're not a specific creed, they're not, some special group. They're just Oregonians, and this drug and this situation could care less about their humanity or where they come from. It just kills them. And we need to have a care continuum that is finally built. Half measures won't work. Kicking the can is not an answer. And counties have been stuck with dealing with this in a way that has not been effective. We need this resource. And so, Governor, thank you for taking the time to listen to us and finding creative ways to partner to get that funding. And I hope, and I'm hopeful, that we will still break ground on time and figure out how to do this in a way that is affordable and using those resources responsibly. That's all I have, Chair.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Helm.
Yeah, it was a great ribbon cutting. That was my second. I know Paul said he's been to hundreds, literally. I can't even imagine how many you've gone to. I will say some very inspiring stories. Yesterday, Councilor Rebecca, and I can't say her last name, from Milwaukee, the city of Milwaukee, just gave such an inspiring speech, very eloquent. As she said, her heart kind of took over her head at one point, but I think everyone recognizes the difference that stabilization center is going to make in the community. And I just want to say, too, and I haven't been part of this because I'm too new, but I'm really honored to be a part of a board that is so willing to step up and help our most vulnerable, and puts that at the forefront. And I know the funding is a tough subject right now, just like we have to do. The governor's making some tough decisions. But I think that this board is committed to doing everything possible to try to raise the funds to get that recovery center going and finished. So I'm on board with that too, and will do my part to help fund it. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over. I had some grandbaby time this weekend, so my soul is filled again, and until next time.
That's wonderful. Thank you. All right, a few things. First of all, Martha, thanks for the heads up on, I actually knew Dan Hitchcock very well. We actually went to the Pentagon together. So if you could make sure you let me know when and where, I'd sure appreciate it.
I'll let you all know when his funeral is.
Yeah,
I think
tremendous,
it's
yeah.
coming up Friday, so I'll make sure.
And just a couple follow-ups on the Stabilization Center, just to kind of remind everybody that, it's set up for anybody struggling with mental health issues. It could be a mental health crisis, it could be depression, anxiety. It's not just for homeless individuals, so it's to meet the need of our community. So it's over on McBride, and want to make sure people know about that. And also kind of a big shout out to Mary Rumbaugh and Jenna Morrison, formerly with the Sheriff's Office, for all their hard work in pulling that together. I'll kind of remind the board, that used to be one of the CSAP treatment programs for females struggling with an addiction. I want to make sure we're kind of looking in the future. They combined it with the men's section, which kind of reduced that population. So down the road, I think we need to be having the discussion about a building for that population as well. So the other issue I wanted to just announce too, and that is Baskin-Robbins hosting 11 days in November fundraising honoring our local veterans. They've teamed up, and it's actually with the Gladstone, Baskin-Robbins and Gladstone Oak Grove Kiwanis are teaming up. It's going to be held Tuesday, November 4th, starting at 5 p.m. until closing. The Baskin-Robbins is located at 19510 McLaughlin in Gladstone. And the campaign will be benefiting the VFW Three Rivers Post in Oregon City. So encourage folks to stop by and help contribute to a great cause. And one thing, I had two other things, but one of which is I wanted to bring it up as a discussion item with my colleagues about we're constantly trying to improve communication. I want to credit you. You're going to a lot of CPOs and out in the community, hearing what the concerns are, and just want to throw it out as a discussion as perhaps going to some city council meetings with some of our cities and just more or less checking in to see if they have questions. I don't know what my colleagues think about that. I also thought it might be nice. We have such a huge county. And so perhaps even working on some town halls throughout the county. I know that, and Gary, I saw this, Bronson actually is hosting a town hall. And so I also just thought that might be a great way to team up and be able to kind of update our community about where we're at. And just if you had any input or thoughts, I see Commissioner Savas. Go ahead.
So you're soliciting our input?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, all
I
right.
want to make sure I'm not interrupting.
No.
So yeah, I think I know when we talked about our board goals, and we approved our board goals for priorities, that public outreach was a component of that. And so I'm a big advocate of not the open houses, but the town halls. And getting out there, I think it's an important role to do. C4 does give us that city connection. We might be strategic on maybe if a city council has a particular hot topic or topic of interest where they might want maybe we can sign a solicit, when is the best time. CPOs, also, as they're rebuilding and coming back together, there's still some that are still idle. I know to some degree the night meetings is also a goal. I know our attendance hasn't really been, coming back in the evening meetings like it once was. But yeah, anything and everything that kind of connects us more with the community. But the big one, I think, that we've been floating around there, I know Commissioner Schrader and I talked about it because we were both involved in it, was, Complete Communities 2.0. What the best way to get them all to come together, all of us to come together, and that does not, that also allows city council members and anyone in the community in the county to come together. But I think if we did that one more time, I think that would really be fantastic. Try to understand what's out there in our community and let them know we care, and that we're concerned, and we learn from what's on their mind and what's going on in their backyard. So that's probably the most efficient thing I can think of that accomplishes that one board priority.
All right, well, thank you. Right, my last item for today, and that is, I was going to ask Mr. Williams if he could have Creston Rice come up and just put you on the spot up here, kind of introduce yourself again, and we're just very excited to have you here as a new council. Maybe just tell us about yourself, and be honored to have you here at the county.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm honored to be here.
great. So maybe just introduce yourself again, and then just give us a little bit of your background and why you picked Clackamas. I got to hear that.
I'm Creston Rice, and I just started with County Council yesterday after 20 years of working with the Department of Veterans Affairs as a staff attorney. I chose Clackamas County because I was born and raised in Clackamas County, and uncles were in the police department. Mom was librarian at Clackamas High School. Right. I'm a Milwaukee Mustang.
Oh,
So, yeah, it's good to be home.
all right. Well, welcome. And just want to say thank you for picking Clackamas County, and thanks for all your service helping veterans. And I think you'll fit in great here. So again, welcome, and we appreciate your service here. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right. Have a great day. And with that being said, we'll conclude this morning's administrative issues and updates. We're going to be back here hopefully around 1:30. We've got a lot going on today. So is that correct, Gary?
Correct, 1:30 for policy sessions.
All right. We'll be back here soon. Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to these policy sessions on November 4th, 2025. County Administrator Gary Schmidt, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Chair, thank you. Roll call, Commissioner West.
Here.
Commissioner Schrader. Here. Commissioner Helm.
Here.
Commissioner Savas.
Present.
Chair Roberts.
Here. Thank you, Gary. Would you introduce the first policy session?
Yes, Chair, thank you. The first policy session today is Recovery Campus, Design Updates, and Financial Plan. Mary Rumbaugh, Director of Health, Housing, and Human Services, and Cindy Becker, Project Coordinator in County Administration, will present. Go ahead, please.
Go ahead, Cindy.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. As Gary said, we really have two purposes for this discussion with you today. The first I'd like to start out with is the update. We're in the development phase of the design phase. We started out with schematics that we sent to you, and now these are the development, and then there'll be contract documents. And rather, I don't know if you need me to go through each of these. I think the best thing to do would be to go to page 8 of the PowerPoint, and that really describes the changes that were made from the schematics. So the project team, the architects, contractors, FORA consultants are very cognizant of the budget. And so they have, in line with that, they've reduced the size of Building 1, which is the clinic building, by 2,500 square feet, and Building 2 by 3,000 square feet. We've also looked at the materials, the outside materials, and looked at making sure that they were the most cost-effective, revised the building entry design so that when it's for constructability, but again, this is getting into the clinical building to make sure when people are coming in for the detox withdrawal management services that they're not waiting outside in the rain and there's a place for them to be. And also just some buildings alignment with the driveways and some things outside in terms of adding benches, as I mentioned, the rain cover. The next slide, I want to have a discussion about the kitchen, because that has been brought up several times. And so if you want to, I'm sorry, let me just, let's skip to the kitchen. Let's go to this kitchen first. Okay. So what I asked the contractors and FORA to do is say, what is the difference between having a full-blown kitchen and a kitchen that is really a satellite, if you will? And so these show you the differences in the operating budgets. And I can tell you in terms of the construction, the one-time cost, it's about, I don't know if it's on this page, $200,000. So one of the things, and I know the board was very concerned about not having a full bore kitchen at the outset of construction or as we construct these buildings. And so I would like to suggest as we walk through this that we do go ahead and construct the full kitchen, but that we take a pause in terms of operating it as a full kitchen right away until we really see what's going on and really see, what can we do to make things as efficient as possible and not automatically go and staff at full time. couple of reasons. Number one, this will have to become part of their per diem, which means that it's going to take away from something else in the per diem that they receive. And if they really don't need the fully staffed kitchen every day, then let's just, I would recommend that we not go into that, but that we go ahead and build the full kitchen for a couple of reasons. First of all, if and when we get a chance to develop the rest of the property, that kitchen will also be able to serve the rest of the property. And so, I have talked with our contractor and the consultants, and so that amount of money, the $200,000, is in the budget. So I wanted to make sure that I talked about that with you, and if you're okay with that, a recommendation that we go ahead and build it, but not worry about staffing it full-time at the very beginning. Any questions or comments about that? Okay. And then if you would go back to the costs of the buildings. And so, any other questions before I get into the financing piece? Any other questions about the design?
I don't think so.
I was supposed to wait 5 seconds before talking again.
Actually, let me just throw one out. So we toured Fora Health, right,
Fora Health.
in July we
Yes.
toured, yeah. And so there's a clinic, all the components that would be in Building 1, aren't they there at that facility that we saw? I mean,
Yes.
Okay,
They're in more beds.
okay.
Yes.
And then the other buildings are where more the residential side for the outpatient stuff, or is that what it was, or no?
They are now constructing transitional housing on a site across from them. They don't have that today.
Okay. Right.
But you're correct, Commissioner Savas, for the building that you toured, it has withdrawal management, residential, and outpatient all in one building. And what they're now adding on to in a separate building is recovery housing.
Okay,
So
so
a little bit different than this proposal.
So they obviously staged it as well.
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
Thank you.
We like to think they took our idea for the campus and then decided they needed to do that at Cherry Blossoms, right? Okay, so let's talk about the cost. So we're talking about the cost of the whole project, and the first is the property purchase of $3.5 million. And then the construction, I've put it in 3 large blocks: the demolition of the existing building, the construction of we're calling it the clinical building, Building 1, and then Building 2, the housing outpatient. What's also included within these building costs are the pre-construction costs, so I didn't pull those out. So we're looking at the total construction costs of $41.2 million, add that up to the $3.5 million, and that's where you get the $44 million. Now, included in the construction costs are some things that we didn't have initially. One is the full-blown kitchen. One is, because we're a government jurisdiction, we have to have 1.5, it should say, not say dollars, 1.5% of the budget for a green building. And then there are some right-of-way improvements. So those were not included in the original $40 million. So that's why the 41 is a little bit over what we had to start with. I would next like to draw your attention to attachment B. So this essentially goes, the first part, the costs, are what I just talked with you about, where it gets the total project costs. And then the next piece speaks to the funding that we have. We have funded the purchase of the property. We have funded the pre-construction costs. So the total of those two are $6.3 million, and we used a variety of funding sources to underwrite those costs. And then we still have $9.2 million left of the $10 million set aside for the supported housing services funds. And so those totals are $15 million, and then the remaining gap between the total project costs and what we have is the $29.2 million. I also added what the annual maintenance costs are. Now, that is before, this $493,000 is before we reduce the sizes of those buildings, so actually the cost would be a little less, because the way it's done is just on a per square foot. It's a formulaic, and it's per square foot. There's a standard cost. So those costs would be less. So the challenge is $29.26 or $29.3 million. The next set of figures are, it's a menu of options, and if you add all of these up, they will come to more than the need, but that was done purposely because I wanted to give you options and to pick and choose from these. I will tell you that except for a couple of them, all of them are going to have impacts. They're going to have impacts on individuals, on providers, on the county funds in different ways. So what I'm going to do is go through each of these and then talk about what the impacts could be. So the first option is the federal earmark. The reason I included this is because we applied for it, it was approved, but we haven't received it. And this is kind of deja vu because we applied for it before, it was approved, and we never did receive it. So this is the second go-around. We were asked to reapply for it, but until we have the money in the bank, as Gary would say, it's still iffy. So that's why it's on there. I'm assuming it's an option that you would take, but I wanted to make sure you understood that we have not received it yet. The next is the opioid settlement. As you know, opioid settlement dollars are flowing to local jurisdictions over a number of years. And we are estimating about $12 million, that we'll receive an additional $12 million over the next 5 to 8 years. And one of the options that you have as the board is to dedicate all of the remaining funds, that $12 million or thereabouts, to this project. If you decide to do that, because these funds will come in over the next several years, and we need the money now for the construction, we would ask that you either did a loan from the general fund or took out a loan from a bank so that we had the cash flow now, and it would be repaid with the opioid dollars as they came in. The impact of this, let me stop and talk about, have Mary talk about that, because this will have an impact.
Yes, and so we do have current funds committed that were committed last year through June of 26. So it's sort of an array of services. Some county-supported programs, like at the Sheriff's Office, our Project Hope program through our Public Health Division, as well as nonprofits, Quest, Northwest Family Services. In almost all cases, the current investment is really expansion on best practice programs, and in almost all cases, there are humans, there are actual worker bees doing the work, and so the decision to shift the focus of the remaining dollars and let those contracts sort of sunset June 30th of 26 will have an impact, and that's as Cindy started with. There is no like one perfect solution here, so just making sure you all just feel aware of where the current commitments are at, and then what those impacts are.
And I think also Washington County, for example, they did dedicate their opioid dollars, so it's not an unusual practice. So these are all balancing acts. And the next is the energy grant. We applied for an energy grant and through the State Department of Energy, and we won't know the outcome of that until probably January, February of 2026. There are additional supported housing services funds that will be made available to us, as in the other counties. Those are administrative dollars where the county would have to apply for those dollars. There's about $7 million probably available, and I put 5 because I don't want to feel like we're trying to take everything. But the board would have to prioritize the recovery campus over other priorities that the county has. And we know that in previous sessions with you, one of the big priorities is the lack of shelter in the county. And this is not, when the county would apply for these funds, it's not giving them an array of services. We would have to give them we'd have to apply for what our priority was. So if you decided to do this, then there would not be funds for a shelter. The next is carving out a few $1 million of county general funds. And the only way you could actually get those funds would be to reduce general funds in other departments and/or reduce a subsequent general fund increase. So there's not $3 million hanging around, as you well know. And so if the board decided to dedicate $3 million, it would have to come from someplace else. The next is the Community Development Block Grant Loan. It's called Loan 108 or 108 Loan. Essentially, that's available to entities that receive community development block grants. And there, again, is a formula there. We would be eligible for about $10 million. The good thing about these loans is they are typically at a lower interest rate than you would get on the open market. So if we were to take out a $10 million loan, it does require a repayment source. It's not at grant. And so we would have to repay that with general funds, but we could do that over several years. So for example, and I just gave an example, the cost would be about $1.4 million annually over 10 years if we decided to go that route. The next is state funding, although we were not successful this past session, not that we didn't try, but we would go back again and request funds this upcoming session. And our strategy would be to request lottery dollars as opposed to state general funds, because we know that they're at a premium as well. To be honest with you, I think it will be difficult because in off years between the full sessions, it's not typical that the legislature would allocate that kind of funding. Last but not least is private fundraising. However, this is difficult because donors typically don't like to give grant funds, or don't like to give, private funds to government entities. Now, I did chat with the CEO of Fora Health, and they said they would be willing to set up a separate account within, because they are a 501c3, they would be willing to set up a separate account through Fora that they could accept funds for this project. So it would go through them and come here, so we wouldn't have to set something else up. They would actually use their capacity as a 501c3 to dedicate additional donations to us. So those are the funding options. I'm sure there are more, but I think these are the most obvious ones that we believe are within your authority to make some decisions about. The next section, the last section here, are site options. Because this is not a fully funded project at this time, we wanted to make sure that you knew that there were options available as well. The first is to go ahead and complete the design development, which we would strongly recommend because you've already funded it. The second one, if you did nothing else, would be to demolish the existing structure. It's a 55,000 square foot building on the site. As you know, it has lead and asbestos in it. It's also becoming a magnet for people who are houseless. Some people are cutting through the fence, setting fires. It's not a good place to be. So we would also recommend that we go ahead and do that demolition. Another option you have is just to pause the whole project until there is full funding. And last but not least is to go ahead and look at the options above to fund the construction of the clinic building and the demolition. So that would be about $25 million. And then we would continue to look for funding for the remaining, for the second building, for the transitional housing and the outpatient. I did want to note that separating these buildings, it's not a right or wrong, but by separating the construction, it's going to be more costly. And so I did ask, and these costs, by the way, came from the architects and our contractors. These did not come from staff. And so this is what they told us. So you do have options. It's not an all or nothing. And we're open to questions and be happy to answer anything or provide any additional information. I would stress that we really do need direction from you because it's November already and we are hoping to break ground or to start the demolition in the spring and summer, and if you want us to pursue any of these options, it's going to take a little time. So we really are hoping that you provide us strong direction today.
Discussion. Commissioner Savas.
So I'm looking at the last bullet that says note, additional cost of separate building construction is approximately $825. So when Commissioner West and I were talking yesterday, and we spoke last week, I got the sense that it was more than that. If we built one building one first, that we would lose more than that. But is the 800? Is it about $1 million-ish?
That's what I received from the contractor. Again, that doesn't account for a higher cost of materials. That's just the inefficiency of building them separately.
Okay. All right. And so I just want to say I'm inclined to try to move forward with the resources we've identified that are not general fund, because we don't have a path right now to replace any general fund, whether it's a loan or anything else. So until there's a demonstration that we can actually pay off a loan with general fund, I need to know where it's coming from. I think we all do. So I'm reluctant to go there, but I'm also inclined to figure out a way to move forward with building one. And it looks like there might be a couple different paths, as you've kind of outlined here, with the assemblage of monies that we could possibly get. So the opioid settlement monies, that's plus 12. And if we struck the building 2, that's minus 15. So we're getting close by just those 2 changes, right? And then there's other means of getting there with some of the other recommendations you have here. But I'll stop there and listen to what my colleagues have to say as well.
I think Commissioner Helm was next.
Yeah, thank you. Cindy, the federal earmark, you mentioned may or may not come, because we've applied once, never showed up. You applied again, so it may not come, okay? Understood, don't count on that. Opioid settlement, is that for sure dollars? Those
Yes.
are
Yep.
100% guaranteed.
It's all part of a legal settlement, so we do know the payment, and we actually do, continual lawsuits happen, and so we'll actually all of a sudden get a Costco payout that we didn't expect. So, that's even a lower number, but that's a solid, we feel like 12 million is a solid number.
Okay, and then if we dipped into this additional SHS funds of 5 million, and it says we'd need to prioritize the recovery center over other services, what else would we be taking it away from?
Primarily it would be the shelter.
What is that?
Excuse me, the shelter?
Couldn't hear you.
Shelter.
Okay.
Which we need desperately.
Correct.
Yeah. And in your perfect world, if you were queen for a day,
I give you my crown.
Wow. Oh, are you looking, oh, you're going to.
I'm looking at
You're
both
not
of
me, okay.
what would come first, the shelter or building one? Honestly, I want you to be candid, because I think the shelter needs to come first.
Yeah, I am concerned that this county has never had a 24/7 overnight shelter, and we have done amazing work every time we've needed to lift up the overnight shelter, and it is the least efficient way for us to spend money. We also are spending currently revenue for, hotel sheltering, that this shelter would be able to replace that, and we would actually see SHS cost savings over the course of the measure. So I am concerned that that is that most immediate need, especially as we're, obviously heading into, winter and all the inclement weathers.
How fast could it happen?
Well, we're gonna come back to you next week with a policy session on this. So I think those are some of the important pieces to weigh as well. I mean, nothing, as you know, Commissioner Helm, I mean, nothing is overnight, but certainly we would be able to have the shelter likely lifted up sooner than ultimately the completion of the recovery campus. And ultimately, from a continuum of care, we need the recovery campus.
Of course.
Long-term as well.
No question about that. We're just in the scheme of where to spend the money first and what's going to make the most difference the fastest. And you mentioned, when we spoke last week, you mentioned pods, and I hope you're okay if I bring that up again, because you mentioned how many people that would help right away, and how quickly it could happen. Do you have a location in mind?
No, that is one of the things that we would need some direction from you all on. But yeah, there's sort of 2 models we could consider as sort of a pod model, which would be, again, about 40 individuals and/or go out and sort of look for a site location for that congregate care. And what we do know is adults and families adults and couples are our priority at this point.
Okay. Okay, and just so that you know where I stand too, because I'm on board with completing the design development. I'm on board with demolishing the existing structure. I think those two things need to be done. We have that. I'm very torn on whether we should put money towards, and pause on the recovery center until we have more funding, and then work on the, the shelter. I'm just a little torn in that, but I want to hear from my colleagues on this too.
If I could just also say that these are target numbers. So for example, because for the building, we need $25 million for the first building, and we have $9 million to allocate still out of the SHS dollars that we have set aside. So that means the number is going to be about 16 million net that we need for building one. So you don't need to take all of any of these. In other words, you could say, okay, we're going to take all of the opioid, but the balancer would be the loan. So we don't need the 10 million. We could take less than that, which would be less impact on the general fund. So these aren't absolute numbers. There's a way to kind of, for want of a better phrase, mix and match. But if we know what your priorities are, then we can work the final numbers. And then to the extent we get additional money, for example, that the federal earmark does come through, we can either put that towards the second building or refund some of any general funds from the first building. So we want to make sure that, and if we got money from the state, again, we could put that towards the second building and/or make sure that we're comfortable with the financing of the first. We just don't, it's really an issue of timing with the state, because I don't have high hopes about this session because it's an interim session, but we also can't wait for another year. So if we went ahead and did some of these things and then, for want of a better phrase, backfilled them as other funds became available, I think that's another option. I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Commissioner West.
Thank you, Chair. This is really tough, and it's not great. Unfortunately, we haven't had great partners with the federal government or with the state. And so here we are as counties having to face a crisis head-on and a little bit on our own. Everybody loves the ribbon cutting, but it's not easy to get there. And our county sacrificed a lot to have the outcomes we have. And thank you, Mary and Cindy, for leading with us in that effort. It is hard for me to make this decision because my heart is too wrapped up into this. It's hard to be like, it's just really hard to be super practical with other people's money to try to address this issue. And we're in a really tough situation. I'm really tired of it. I would like to have a conversation. I think the chair, you might have questions around where the opioid dollars, the impact of removing $12 million towards essential care that we are doing now and services we are doing. And they are good things we are giving that money to now. What is the whole and impact? And what are the creative ways to try to support that if possible if we pull that money? That's, I will leave that question because I know it's coming, but we need to answer that question. I'll tell you where I kind of fall right now, and I might be alone, and that's okay. I support right now moving all 12 because we have to prioritize the recovery infrastructure we're building, the commitments that we made around that, and we have to address the crisis period. And so we have to triage. And so for me, I support $12 million. There's some flexibility there. I know these aren't exact numbers, and maybe there's not all programs get cut within that 12 million, but hypothetically, as we talk about numbers, Chair, I support moving 12 million towards the project. I'd like us to see us do both buildings and figure out how to do it, and this is why. I think it's going to be around $1 million, but I think that those costs skyrocket as they always do. It never gets cheaper to build that building than when we do it now. Energy grant, great. I think that's cool. We love, yes, Cindy, we would take the energy grant. I do not support using the additional SHS dollars. It gets very, very precarious and very, very risky to put that money towards this project because it comes with all kinds of additional metro eyes and strings attachment that could undermine everything. I think that money's more than $5 million, but we have to build out a care continuum. And that does include an appropriate shelter. And so I do support using those administrative dollars coming from Metro for that shelter. It's tough that we can't have more flexibility. Trust me, I have been fighting like hell in the task force and figuring out ways to give us more capital flexibility to build out infrastructure. We don't have that yet. Chair Roberts has been in the room with me. We're trying to get that fight to have the flexibility that we need, but we don't have it. But we also need money for a shelter. So I don't support, actually at this time, unfortunately, though we could use the money, moving those shelter funds towards the campus. Now this is where it gets ugly and tough. And I can't believe I'm saying this, or having to. I'm throwing just numbers out there, we're just talking, so board, please don't come out with pitchforks and torches. I support a general fund investment. The county has not paid actually anything out of its own. We haven't put any skin of our own in the game here. We haven't. I've always believed from the beginning, others have not always agreed with me, that if this is one of our flagship premier projects, somehow the county has to figure out how to participate in that funding. If we're asking the state and everyone else to pitch in with every single penny they can, well, the county should too. I support, and I have supported this for a while, and this may not be popular, but a $7 million give from the county. I don't know if we revenue bond that. I don't know if that's just a one-time give, but I'm asking for $7 million today. And then this, and I do support the CDBG. It's not the easiest thing to say. Loan from HUD going forward. And I don't know how we totally get to that. If we can get help from the state and the feds, and then we can turn around and not use all of those bonds, fantastic. I know a lot of this is fluid right now. But at every level of government throughout this entire state, we have kicked the damn can for damn too long. And this is not comfortable, but I want to see us get it done. So I support those bold efforts based on what I have in front of me today, and I hope we can be flexible and it turns out better than that. But that's my ask to the board, or if you guys agree or disagree, that's okay, but that's where I see it right now.
Thanks, Commissioner. Martha?
Yeah, just a question about the general fund at this point. There's two ways to do it. So we either reduce the general fund, but what I'm seeing in the second half, general fund increase subsequent years. In other words, we could just be flat. And any other dollars we come in would be dedicated. That's kind of my question. I mean, because it's like an either or.
There's no good answer here, and really, I'm sorry, it's unfair to say hold flat, because holding flat is a cut.
I know.
That's a cut.
I know it's a cut, but that would be
Either way,
one
it's
way.
reducing.
In other words, we wouldn't be increasing
Right.
anything, so we'd have to. Okay.
I implement your you know this, but it's my job to say it. Whatever, any amount of general fund you use is an exact cut you'll make somewhere else. And they're hard choices to make. Like this is on your strategic plan, and you committed you would fund your strategic priorities, which this is one of them. But you're going to make hard choices come May on what will you cut at the county. Thank you.
So,
No, that's okay. I just was curious
I might
about
make
that.
a comment, and then I'll go to Paul and back to Diana Helm. I think, as I look at this, some of these I think are easier than others. I think hopefully the federal earmark is one, energy grant, the low-interest loan perhaps. I'm still optimistic about some state funding. I know that that's been a struggle, but I do feel optimistic. I do believe the governor believes we're headed in the right direction and is supportive. I think it's just working with our legislators and others. And I know Ben and I did a lot last session. We were down there, and the Clackamas caucus was very impressed with their direction. You know, I think it's a lot of other issues kind of came up, but I do feel optimistic about that. I know where I kind of struggle with, first of all, and I'm going to say it, Ben, first of all, I love your passion about treatment, because we're both there. I want it just as equally bad as you do. I want you to know that. I think that I am very concerned about general fund dollars. And I'm just going to say it, it's just that we did make a decision prior to me, but decision was for that courthouse. And that is a huge obligation we've already made, right? And from some of the early things that I think I've seen about the upcoming budget, I think we're going to have some pretty tough challenges. And I think that extremely difficult decisions as we kind of move forward. So I'm, not that we can't, I'm really reluctant at this time to kind of jump on that till I kind of have my arms better around that. I think that when it comes to some of the opioid dollars, I do think that's a good place to take some funding. I am not 100% up to speed on what the impact would be in each one of those areas we'd take it. So, for example, how many staff would we lose? What kind of service delivery is going to be impacted in our community? I mean, I have a whole list of questions. We have a huge rising population of seniors that are either homeless or on the edge homeless. And is any of that funding used to kind of help them or not? I don't know. And so, and then I see this, and I think just kind of going over them. So thank you, Mary, for putting this all together. So about $546,000 to juvenile department, the 4D recovery, Northwest Family Services, about $420,000, Clackamas County Public Health Division, Project Hope, and that is also kind of substance use disorder and peer case management. So unfortunately, I'm not 100% up to speed on what that impact in service delivery would be, and maybe you could talk more about that today. And I also echo Commissioner Helm's concern a little bit about the shelter. We would save cost on renting hotel rooms. And that that's a hard pill to swallow too, right? And how do we kind of best financially manage that? And maybe just before I go on, I know maybe Gary could just talk a little bit about at least the things maybe you've heard about the upcoming fiscal impacts that this board's probably going to have to be talking about in the budget. And then I want to make sure I get to Paul and Diane.
Yes, as I've shared with you before, multiple times, already you're approximately $2 million that you'll need to make cuts on based on other prior decisions you've made this fiscal year. I will put a chart together, Commissioner Savas, that you asked for earlier, so you all can see it, and I'll keep a running tally as we go. You also mentioned, Commissioner Savas, the PERS impacts for the next biennium. I don't know that number yet, but it's going to be high. So we have to redo the county forecast to see where we're at. When we last showed you the forecast at the last budget committee meeting, we are in the red in 30 years because of that road improvement we need to do for the courthouse, 213 and Redland Road. We put the full cost of $8 million in the forecast. We don't think it's that high, but we already have to cut to accommodate that. I've been working with the sheriff, and the chair and I have met with the sheriff. There are still funding impacts with the sheriff's office. We'll brief you on and talk about, but there's still issues there to resolve. So yes, we're already at least I don't want to make it, 2 to 4 million that you need to make cuts on as of today, November 4th. They'll likely be higher. Again, this is hard stuff, but that's where we're at this moment in time.
So I think, just to kind of respond, I think that, so folks kind of know where I'm at, I mean, I think completing design development, I agree. The demolish of that building's got to happen because it is not going to be good. I mean, we're going to be dealing with calls for service down there, right?
Right.
And I guess the one question I might pose to you too, and how much energy or thoughts about even going forward with a bond for construction?
Do you mean a general obligation bond?
Yeah,
Or
to,
we haven't talked about that at all. I think, again, we are looking at the timing, and we could do a revenue bond. That's not a time issue. A GO bond obviously would be. And I think because this has been such a priority for the board, we've move forward and pushed as hard as we can to get to where we are. So I think it becomes a question of cash flow. I mean, we don't need all the money on July 1st. And so we do have a cash flow chart from our architects and contractors. Again, I think that if the direction from y'all was, okay, we want you to go through, I think, from what I'm hearing, it sounds like the first two things are a given, the design and the demolition, is what I'm hearing. The question becomes, how much more can you do? And I think, we would need, to finish the first building, we'd need another 16, 17 million. And we wouldn't need, if you said, okay, well, go after the loan, but don't do all the opioid settlement, maybe do half the opioid settlement, so that would get you to that. So there's different ways of getting there, and so I just want to make sure that that's open. If you said to us, yes, we want to do this, now give us some options, we want to save some money with opioid, we want to keep as low general fund repayment as possible. Those are the types of things we could come back. Yeah.
I think that'd be helpful to kind of come back and saying, look, this would be the impact if we took this amount of opioid dollars, and we're saying keep this portion, whatever. I think that would be helpful. So I want to go to Commissioner Salvis has been waiting. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, appreciate hearing everyone's thoughts, and Gary, thanks for your rough estimate of what we could need to cut already. While I appreciate the comments, I would say that I'm just rolling my time clock back to 2016 when the Budget Committee appropriated $300,000 towards the Veterans Village as a first general fund contribution towards the effort of serving people that are houseless, in this case, the Veterans Village, and we put in money, general fund money since then. So we have had a history of doing it, and, we've done it on, I won't say a shoestring, but we've done it with limited resources. When 2020 came around, we had the SHS dollars, and we were going to get this big, huge bucket of money on July 1, and that turns out that bucket of money didn't show up for about a year. But what we learned from that was by being strategic and building into the system very slowly with the resources we had better outcomes than our neighbors who jumped in head first, right? So I think the pragmatism of managing this with the resources we have and going on past experiences where we do really well and then we get rewarded with a grant or something from the state or opportunities. I knew turnkey was an opportunity. We missed that one. I get that. But there are things that will happen. I think that's why I think moving forward with building one as the resources come available is something I can support. But at this moment in time, I mean, I can't lose confidence. I don't want to lose confidence that whether it's the federal earmark or the state can help with that. And I don't know what size or what that funding would look like. I don't know the staging of the time where we would need those resources. But I see a mathematical way of getting there if under the assumption we get some funding from both state and federal. Can't guarantee it, I get that. But between that and if needed, the full opioid settlement, we get to building one. We can do it, right? Now, the shelter, great discussion. Big advocate of that as well. I think that the hope there is, and I don't know what the numbers are, we're going to be talking about it next week, but there's a lot of opportunities to repurpose something out there as opposed to building something. So to me, that's the low-hanging fruit is repurposing a building, either where we have something or we can find something that's affordable and do that. So I think we can move, at a decent clip to make this all happen. But I don't think it's wise for us to jump in head first because I don't think that we'll necessarily get the understanding or the contributions we need maybe from the state and federal if they realize that, hey, we're going to start this and your help would help finish this. I think we need to make the case that we're doing good work. I'm also concerned about a recession. I'm concerned about a number of things to make sure that not only act responsibly fiscally, and with compassion, but at the same token is find that middle ground where we're taking the right steps to address this crisis with these resources we have listed. But the general fund, frankly, I'm just telling you, I don't see how we get there. It's going to be painful enough to cut 4 million right now. I'll tell you, that'll be a painful exercise just to get the 4 million we need to cut, let alone, the CDBG, that's 1.5 million a year on what's the assumption for years? 10?
10 years at 5%.
Right, right.
And I think, again, wouldn't need to do all of that. You may say, well, let's just do 5 million.
Right.
And, yeah.
Right. And unfortunately, it's not a grant, it's a loan. So
Correct.
it's dollar for dollar with a little bit of interest, so to speak. And then any other contribution, unless there's, again, some kind of a property sale where we can sell some properties that are out there, and maybe there's some monies we can look at there. I brought that up before. I don't know what the potential is, but to me, I think we can have those conversations when we talk about filling the gap for building 2, but I see a pathway right now to responsibly do this without tapping general fund and getting rolling on building 1.
Thank you. Commissioner Helm.
So when was our retreat? July or August? I can't remember.
June.
Our retreat was in June?
End of June, yeah.
Good Lord, that was a long time ago. I will say, just to be candid, that in June, as I championed the Recovery Center, I didn't know we didn't have funding in place. That was a surprise to me. So, not that I wouldn't have supported it. I do support it fully. But I think that I am way too fiscally frugal to be on board with something that we don't have secure funding in place, not on promises, not on, winks and nods, all that. I think it's irresponsible of us to move forward on something we don't have funding on. Now, I will say that when you build a house, generally, you go out and you get a loan, or you get a bridge loan, or something akin to that. And I'm not opposed to a loan. I'm not opposed to the CDBG loan if it's a low interest rate, if it's doable. I'm also on board to take all of the opioid settlement money and put it towards this project so we can get building 1 going. But I will say I was a bit floored to find out we did not have funding in place when this was done, and I would not have been on board for moving ahead without that being secured. So, but I want to move forward. So, not to contradict myself, I'm all about creative financing, and I think we're working on creative financing right here. If we took the opioid settlement money and we did get a loan, I do not want to tap the general funds. I think that based on the last 2 weeks, I think we're going to be well over 4 million at the rate we're going in the hole come May. So, Gary, what does it look like when you tell your departments they all need to cut 5 or 10%? So that, well, I'm just saying, this is what Gary would have to do. Everybody go through, cut your departments 5 or 10%. It's going to be painful, right? So we have to do our best to make sure we don't ask everyone to do that. Now, can we cut in some departments? I don't know. That's, I'm always, show me the books, I'll find the fat, I'll cut it, but that's not my job. But I just think we need to really beware that our county general funds are a bit sacred right now as we move into a potential recession. Oregon is the canary in the coal mine right now, and I'm hearing that word a lot from economists, and I just think we need to be very fiscally conscious going forward. So I'm all about using a few of these in real responsible ways.
Chair, can I ask Commissioner Helm a question?
Yes.
So when you mentioned the loan, the CDBG loan, and knowing that it says in the packet there that we repay with general funds, did you have something else in mind, knowing to repay?
Well, I don't mean to use the whole thing. I mean, we could, well, that is then the hope and prayer that some of these other funds come in, right? either the state funding, the federal earmark, any of these to kind of help repay that, right? I mean, I can't be on board for taking 7 million from, and I know, Ben, I totally understand where you're coming from. You're very passionate about this project, but I don't know. I think we can hope for some state funding in this, and I think we can hope for the federal earmark. And I don't know, maybe we touch some of the additional SHS funds. Part of it, not all of it. Just take a little bit from each to cobble together some money.
Yes, go ahead. Then Commissioner West has a comment.
Okay, I'm just quickly, after this meeting, we're not going to stop looking for money
No, oh, no, no.
everywhere we can. So I just want, whatever your decision is, we certainly are aware of the sacredicity of the general funds. We know they're not flowing around, and so we will continue. We will follow up with any lead that we can. So I just want to give you that assurance that this doesn't stop with this conversation.
All right. Commissioner West.
A couple bright spots because this county's rad. I promise you better than most. We are. We are dusting off old timber policies to figure out how to fund things like this. And that's, thank God to this administration, a real pathway to add a real infusion to our general fund to fund things like this. So just for the folks, I won't go too far off on this tangent, but we have the 6 most O&C lands, which by statute from 1937 are designed to provide 50% of the revenue from those timberlands directly into county general funds, directly to precious general funds. The state was built on timber, and it might take timber to save it economically. So we are working really hard and quickly with our partners and have, for the first time in decades, warm reception to this issue to work with the county on this. So there's a possibility that that money could help pay back whatever we step up with. I know it's a hope and a prayer a little bit. I totally fair. Like I don't even disagree with any of my colleagues. This just sucks. Like I'm just leading with my heart. I'm a nurse, not an accountant, so there you go. So I'll be the nurse at the dais. You guys can be the business owners and the CPAs. They're all important. They are. We're all bringing in a different perspective, and it's all important. So we have that. There's been conversations around the levy that we have to do for law enforcement, and we have to fix and adjust and tweak the levy. Is it correct? I might misunderstand this, and did Washington County use their levy to help pay for services like this with their law enforcement levy? Is there an opportunity to potentially use something like that to piggyback on it to help take care of this recovery infrastructure?
Washington County uses their levy for a variety of things, the district attorney, juvenile department, domestic violence, addictions, and the sheriff's office.
Okay. I mean, maybe we look at that. That could be an immediate high potential backfill. If we step up and say, we're just going to figure out how to get both buildings going and then work like crazy to find those resources to not have to like use a full loan or to pay or to pay back a bond. So there's that. There's O&C lands. There's that. I'll be honest. I just felt like a total gut punch when we got a lot of wink and the nods and the yes, we love your project. We're working with you. And then all of a sudden the phone stops being picked up and we're ghosted. And then from 10 million to 0 from the state and from the governor's administration, I'm sorry, it was hard. So I still feel that real thing when we're trying to continue this good work. But maybe there is hope there. I don't feel really hopeful, but maybe we need to have some hope that maybe somehow the state's going to help us figure this out too at a local level. The federal earmark is just wonky about how you get it. You have to reapply, and you get approved and reapply again, and the continuing resolution, and it's quite wonky. I hope we get it, but that's 3,000 miles away, and out of all these different pots of money, it's not the biggest for sure. I hope, but I'm not like super counting on it because it's like yes, no, yes, no, yes, no with the earmark. It's crazy. So it's hard to count on those things when we're about to break ground. Like we don't have a lot of time, like you said, Cindy. So me being riskier and me being outside of my norm around being a fiscal hawk and is because I don't think that all of those future funding opportunities land to zero. I just don't. So I like the ones where we're in control because this county delivers, and that includes O&C lands and being super creative. We somehow figure out how to get it done, and maybe it is with the levy and a partnership with the sheriff. So that's why I think the cleanest way is what I propose. It doesn't necessarily the right way or the way we should go. But I can't, every single time I've worked on a public project and we've delayed the construction, it's exorbitantly more expensive later. And we always say, well, we shoulda, woulda, coulda when we could have early on when it was much cheaper, because in the long run, it would have saved us money. And so, yes, we can easily, I support definitely getting to building 1. But I think that we should be planning right now for building 2 because it's going to be really expensive to not do it now. And we do have some other pending opportunities for real revenue into our general fund or to support this. And maybe I'm being naive, but that's kind of where I fall with this. I don't want us to. There's just always an excuse in the state on why not to get this stuff done. Like always. It's just, yeah. So that's where I'm at on it.
Martha?
So, so it sounds like there's a consensus about building 1, okay? So if we just took, and you're all the numbers people, I'm not, that's why I'm glad you're here. So if we took the opioid and the SHS funds, those would be the 2 ones that we take, that'd be like 17 million? Would we be able to do building 1 with that?
Yes,
Bless you.
yes, it'd be, we have 9 and 17, yes.
I mean, a little bit with the caveat, you don't have 12 million right now with opioid. That's through 2030.
Right.
So
We'd have to be paying, we'd have to be
we would
gradually
still
getting it.
probably have a loan situation that we would need
okay.
to address.
A low interest rate, hopefully.
So
whatever.
opioid dollars are paying back a
Right.
revenue bond
Or
Or loan,
or-
or a
yes,
loan of
yeah,
some kind
yeah,
to the
yeah.
general fund?
Yes,
Okay. So it's revenue, it's neutral.
yes.
Yeah.
So kind of to follow up with your thoughts, Martha, I mean, I think that that's where I'm trying to get to is just that first building, right? And I think that, again, I mean, I might be able to get there, but I really need more information about the opioid
Okay.
dollars and how they're being used. Are we going to have to cut staff? What are the programs we're going to cut? And yeah, I want to know more about that. So I could get there, but I would ask that we, maybe have that come back at another time. I know we kind of want to move forward on this, but
We need a decision, right?
So next week, we are scheduled for 2 policy sessions, one regarding the Metro admin dollars. So there will be an opportunity to have a conversation as well as the opioid settlement. We really, for the opioid settlement policy session next week, we're really just getting you all up to speed on sort of, again, the ways we can spend the dollars and sort of our current investments, and then we're really asking direction from you all. So we're in front of, Gary, we're in front of the board pretty quickly anyway, but it does feel like we are sort of being asked to do some important math to really understand, like, we've done some of the initial understanding of CDBG 108 loan, but probably really a very deep dive, okay, what exactly are we talking about? Because we didn't want to obviously put it on the list without knowing that it's a viable option to you all. So I'm not sure that I still think I think we're still in a short time frame to get to a recommendation or direction from you, just knowing that we have the policy sessions next week. Obviously then recess, but an ability to come back pretty quickly, I would think.
Yes.
Okay.
go ahead.
I just had a question about, you said the opioid money. Is most of that internal service deliveries? In other words, are staffing here, or it's all
It's a
out
mix. It's a
mix.
Yeah, it's a mix
Yeah,
with,
that's what, I was wondering, I didn't have that sheet, because that's kind of what I was looking at. There's a lot of nonprofit, good nonprofit folks doing the work. But how are we measuring outcomes? I guess would be one of my questions, tough question, you know?
that will be part of our conversation next week.
Yeah, because I'm looking at this saying, well, if the recovery center's a priority, again, what's the efficiency with the good work people are doing? But hopefully it's outcome driven with metrics.
Yep,
Very
they
specific.
provide quarterly reports to us, so we have all of that detail for you.
So I'll go ahead and turn to Commissioner Savas. I think I would like to hear is, it sounds like we're going to be able to come back next week, and is that going to work for everybody, or I want to make sure that I'm hearing from you, Commissioner. I know you want to really push this thing forward, but would that work coming back?
Well, I mean, sure. I mean, I think we need to make a decision and give broad direction today. That's what I mean, of course I'm ready. Like, that's not, nobody in Oregon is worried about whether or not I'm ready to do this project. I don't think anybody's worried. Nobody, I'm clearly invested in this.
Yeah.
So I guess I support building one. I don't know if we have totally said no to figuring out how to set the path for building two with the idea that we do have additional funds looming to help us in the long run. Is not how I like to do business, Commissioner Helm, and you are not wrong. Now, you guys can put me in check. That's why there's 5 of us. I can have my opinion and push it, but y'all, please, you guys I really respect your opinions. So I mean, that's some direction, yes, on building one. I think we've given even a little bit clear direction about the funding sources with more details. I don't know if you agree with that, Cindy, but.
Well, if I could, I'm hearing, yes, I'm hearing building one, but I'm hearing a little bit of conflicting information. So I think everyone is saying, yes, part of, if not all of, the opioid dollars. I think, it's going to be a Sophie's choice with the opioid dollars. Of course, there are good things happening with them today. You're just going to have to make that decision. I think, again, if the shelter is a priority as well, then we're not going to go towards additional SHS dollars. Then you're left with the loan, which is going to take some general funds. So I don't think there's any way you can get around that. Now, we can minimize it. We can say, okay, we're just going to do building one, so we only need maybe $5 million on the CDBG loan. But that means you would have to do all of the opioids. So you see what I'm saying? So we can get there, but from each one of you, I've heard, well, don't do that one and don't do that one. And so it's kind of like, well, we can get there, but it will not be thrilled with all of it.
Am I correct? SHS administrative funds is very risky and precarious based on the requirements and the nuances and the oversight from Metro.
I would agree. I am
very
concerned,
precarious.
especially if you were, if our proposal was pretty much to put the majority in. I believe Metro would have concerns about, is this, because we know, we've already been public, that the recovery campus absolutely will serve a portion of our houseless population, but that's not the primary focus, right? So I think it's risky.
Like I said, we fought really hard to be able to have more capital flexibility with that and have been advocating for that. We don't have it right now. And there are restrictions with those dollars based on, from Metro and the measure and whatnot. So, I mean, it's money we do have. For good news is we actually do also need a shelter. So that's why, if it wasn't, that'd be a different conversation, but that's a real risk. I don't know if I want some direction today. I am not in a punt mood. I don't know. I am in we got a building one, that's a decision. Can we get a little bit more refinement on what that funding will look like? It doesn't look like there's a pathway without a little bit of general fund anyways, even for building one. Or are we comfortable, maybe only I am, hope and a prayer for future funding to help support the commitment we're making today for 2 buildings. That's my question to my colleagues.
And I'll go to Gary, then to Paul.
Here's an option for you. We could quote, punt this till next week and have a conversation around everything, the opioid dollars, the Metro Administrator Fund, and come back to this discussion, do all 3 together. That will not take us terribly off schedule if we do it just one more week. Next week is the last week. All 5 of you are here for the rest of the calendar year. So next week is the last week. So I would say we can wait one more week. Because you're already out, you're over time for your next session. This is a lot to think about. You've had a great discussion. We could do it next week and talk about all 3 things together, give you time to marinate and think about it. And I just have to say, Commissioner West, even if the hope and the prayer, if you don't have that extra money, if you don't have the new money in hand by May 2026, you are still cutting other programs and services. And then when the money if the forced money does come, you could reinstate programs, but it's a timeline thing too.
Gary, is there $2 to $4 million in the hole on a 30-year timeline for our ability to stay in the, is it?
Yes.
So we probably don't want to bring that up, but
I thought it was sooner than that.
I'm sorry.
are we being bound to a potential hole in our budget when none of us are here and some of us aren't alive?
So approximately 1 million of that is to refill the contingency fund you've already taken from. So you must do a 1 million in cuts just to start July 1st. So I'm sorry, I was wrong. 1 million of that you must do by July 1st because you've taken it from your contingency fund and we're under the 5% you've required me to keep.
Okay, and that's a lot different than $4 million 30 years out from now.
Right, and you just asked me to put in the county code to require me to provide that. So we can bring it back next week for you to discuss further, is my proposal.
All right, so I want to kind of move on. We're running out of time. Paul, does it work for you to?
Yeah, well, I just want to make sure I understand the math, because I don't think it's that hard, well, this isn't easy, but, so, looking at the attachment B, at the very top, the top section, it says net remaining gap, 29,267,000. You're showing the funding that is there, the 6.3 million, the 9.2. The total funding to date is 15.5. If we just move with building number 1, then that gap is $10 million, taking 15,000,005, subtracting it from 25 million. You have roughly a $10 million gap. Then going down to the bottom of the page, if we use all the opioid, if we did, that's 12 million. That fills the gap. No?
I'm sorry, Commissioner. We need to do the demolition and building 1, we need $25 million. Of the 15 million there, 6.3 million is covering some of the expenses up there. So you only have 9 million available, not 15.
So what does it mean when it says total funding to date 15.5?
That's the 6.3 million of what we funded so far, the pre-construction, and we have this additional money that we haven't allocated yet. So the building is 25 million. You allocate 9.2 million, which gives you 16 million or 17 million that you still need.
Okay.
So that's what we're looking for.
Okay. I think it could be a little bit more clear.
I'm sorry about that, yes.
Okay. No
This
worries.
is the 4th time I've put this chart together, so yeah.
But even still,
Yeah.
even still, if I take the opioid money and
I was thinking.
factor that in, and the SHS, which is iffy, right? That's 17 million. So we're coming close. I don't think, Commissioner West, I don't think any of us are kicking the can, but I do want to pursue our conversation we had, a brief conversation we had with the governor, and hope that there's a way of maybe finding that. So I'm optimistic. I know that's not a strategy, but I'm optimistic that something can be there to get building 1 underway. I don't think it's a no on building 2. It's just we can't get there yet. So what they call it, phasing or staging as we put this together. But again, I want to go back. We have a track record, very known in this state, of doing things well, doing it right, and making it work. So with that track record, I'm pretty confident if we can get this going, that they will they will see that. And I think that we can get additional funding to make this complete. That's why I'm willing to go with building number one, and get the ball rolling and showing we have skin in the game, right? So we've got all this, so we're underway. We've done a lot already, so I'm confident that in the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to at least have a better idea where we are than we are today.
Go ahead.
I'll bring you, next week when we come, I can bring you like 2 options. So we don't have all these numbers, and you can really be clear about them and what the impacts are. So that'll, I think, take into account what everyone has said.
All right. I think we're got a pretty consensus about next week.
We're going to bring it back next Wednesday.
All right. Gary, what's next?
Okay, thank you, Cindy and Mary. More to come. All right, Chair, would you please convene as the Board of Health for the next session?
We get Mary again?
Yeah, sorry. I don't know, 4
Whole day
times?
with you
I
today.
know, pretty much, and
Page
yesterday,
11.
part of yesterday.
Page 11, please. Page 11 of your script, bottom of
Thank you.
page 11.
Signal for discussion. Now let's discuss options. Okay, so, so what we'll do now is we'll move on. I'll now recess as the Board of County Commissioners and convene as the Board of Health. Gary.
Thank you. You're now meeting as the Board of Health of Clackamas County. This is Public Health Modernization Plan. Presenting are Mary Rumbaugh, Director of Health, Housing, and Human Services, and Kim LaCroix, the Public Health Division Director. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, Chair Roberts and Commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today about the vital work of public health and your important role as the Board of Health. I am joined today by Kim LaCroix, who is our new Public Health Division Director. Congratulations to her. So public health is one of our 6 divisions within the Department of Health, Housing, and Human Services, and the work of public health is sadly often underfunded, undervalued, and not always visible to the public. Yet it is essential to the health and safety of our community. Our presentation today will help illustrate the critical behind-the-scenes work of our public health staff who protect and promote the health of all Clackamas County residents every day. There is also a statutory requirement for the Board of County Commissioners in your role as the Board of Health to review and provide recommendations on the local public health modernization plan. The Public Health Modernization Plan is a statewide framework designed to strengthen and modernize Oregon's public health system. I will now turn this over to Kim, who will share how Clackamas County is advancing this work through division goals that ensure a strong, effective, and equitable public health system for our community.
All right, thank you, Mary. Good afternoon, Chair Roberts and Commissioners. My name is Kim LaCroix. I'm our new Public Health Division Director. I've officially been in this role since the end of August, and I served in the interim role for about 8 months before that, and I've been with the county for about 7 years. And I'm really excited to be here with you today to talk about public health, to talk about your role as the Board of Health, and as Mary said, to talk to you about our efforts to modernize our public health system in Clackamas County. So I'll first start out by giving an overview about what is public health. So if you don't remember anything from today's presentation, I hope that you remember that public health is synonymous with prevention. Really, that is what we're about. We are about keeping people healthy before problems arise. And even when we're responding in an emergency, we're still focused on prevention. And our work is serves everyone in the county, not just those seeking medical care. And it's a really challenging job. As you know, our county is very diverse in terms of geography and in income and in health needs. And we know that where we live, work, learn, and play really shapes our health. So we have a really big responsibility to meet the needs of all our constituents. And as Mary mentioned, our work is often invisible. It is sometimes behind the scenes, but it's things that your constituents rely on every day. Some of the things that we do that constituents may not realize are not very visible in their daily lives are things like keeping our food and water safe. So we regulate all the restaurants and food carts in the county. We regulate the small water systems. We assess the health of our population. We use large population-based data sets to analyze trends in chronic disease rates or environmental conditions, and then we use that information to inform resource allocation or policy. And then we protect the community from diseases that we may not even be aware that are circulating, like tuberculosis or measles. Thank you. So Oregon's public health system, just to give you a little bit of background, is a decentralized system. So the authority and services are primarily handled at the local level by the local public health authorities. And the local public health authorities, we receive funding from the Oregon Health Authority, or OHA provides contract oversight, subject matter expertise, and guidance, but most of the services and responsibility is really at the local level. And as the Board of County Commissioners, you have a very important statutory responsibility. So Oregon revised statute states that the local public health authority, the LPHA, is the county government, and the governing body of the LPHA is the governing body of the county or a board of health. So as the local public health authority governing body, the commissioners are responsible for really 6 main things. So the first one is to set direction. So you work with the local public health administrator, which is me, to develop public health policies and goals for the county's public health work. You can also establish local rules to carry out public health laws. For example, you can establish local ordinances to protect residents from secondhand smoke exposure in parks or in county buildings. And you can set civil penalties when local public health rules are violated. For example, you could adopt a civil penalty for unlicensed food vendors, and this is something that we are seeing more of in our community. But a key responsibility that I'm here to talk with you about today is reviewing and making recommendations on our local public health modernization plan. I'll get to that in a few slides. Other responsibilities include tracking progress and how the Public Health Division is meeting statewide public health goals. And you also adopt fees for public health services like restaurant and licensing fees, which we have definitely worked with you over the years on. So the LPHA provides key services to keep our community healthy and safe. So I'll run through real briefly the services that are in statute. So communicable disease investigation and control. So we monitor and investigate diseases, respond to outbreaks. We have had a lot of outbreaks over the last year especially. We had measles in August of 2024. We had avian flu in our county last winter. We also ensure access to immunizations. So this means that we assess access to care. We also vaccinate the uninsured population, and then we implement rules that require children to be up to date on immunizations for attending school or childcare. Like I mentioned, we do have environmental health services. We regulate all the food, pool, and lodging facilities in the county. We also work on climate and health. We just released a regional climate and health dashboard. And then we have prevention and health promotion. So this is primary addiction prevention, including tobacco, alcohol, or other drugs like opioids, and mental health promotion. And this program really creates healthy environments. So one example is the Little Blue Store, which I know Chair Roberts and Commissioner Savas, you were at that grand opening in Milwaukee. So that store received a grant from us to purchase refrigeration so they could sell fruits and vegetables to the community. And they also stopped selling tobacco products. We also have a maternal child health home visiting program, so nurses and community health workers visit families in the home to help them achieve their health goals and connect to resources. We assure access to reproductive health and STI services, mainly through partnerships. We have our WIC program, which provides healthy food, infant formula, breastfeeding support, referrals to resources. And I want to thank you for including WIC in your recent emergency declaration on food scarcity, because that funding is a little bit precarious with the federal shutdown. And we also issue vital records, so birth and death certificates. Okay, so public health modernization is really what I'm here to talk with you about today. So this is a statewide effort. It was launched in about a decade ago in 2015 to really meet the needs of today's public health, to meet the needs of today's public health needs of that we have currently today. So before that, Oregon's public laws hadn't really been updated since the 1950s, when they really didn't reflect the modern realities of our community. So the framework is in state law, and the local public health authorities are required to put into practice all the foundational programs and capabilities as funding allows. So I'll describe on the slide here, you can see it's called the Modernization Wheel. So at the center is really the vision for public health modernization. So that is health within reach for all Oregonians. And then each of those colored sections are the foundational programs. So these are the essential services that every local public health authority should provide. So communicable disease control, access to health services, environmental health, and health promotion, disease prevention. And then that outer ring represents foundational capabilities. So these are the core functions that really make all the programs work well. So data and assessment, communications, policy and planning, community partnerships. And like I said before, you have two responsibilities related to public health modernization, which is to review and advise on our plan and then monitor progress towards our goals. So, not sure what's happening. So, okay, so on the, I'm going to show a video, which is an example of one of our foundational capabilities, which is community partnerships. And this is an area where we really excel in Clackamas County. We have over 160 community partnerships in public health with public, private, and nonprofit sectors. And so this video really demonstrates how we're working together to meet modern health challenges like extreme weather events. So it's about 3 minutes long.
Since 1983, Northwest Family Services has been supporting child well-being, family stability, and victims of crime by focusing on the social determinants of health.
The partnerships between county, state, and local community partners are critical to address community needs. Together, we're really able to do much more for the community than we are alone.
Mucha de nuestra parte de lo que hacemos es ir a la comunidad, accesar la comunidad y las maneras de cómo los hacemos. Hay muchos métodos. Dependiendo de cómo podemos accesar la comunidad, eso es lo que nos guía a llevar información relevante. Mucho de nuestro trabajo equivale a estar con la población, llevar la información relevante y saber qué está pasando en nuestra comunidad.
Es una colaboración muy buena más para nuestra organización y también para de salud pública también.
We really lean on Northwest Family Services to guide us and advise us and give us some perspective and insight as to what the community needs and how to respond to the needs.
Tenemos el programa de Climate Change. Ese equipo atiende diferentes ferias o eventos en la comunidad donde preparan unos kits. Por ejemplo, ahorita que está la temporada del invierno, están dando kits de invierno que incluyen cosas como guantes, gorras para el invierno. También les dan más información sobre cómo se pueden preparar para los climas extremos. Pero nosotros aquí en Sonoma, Washington y Clackamas County hemos tenido muchos cambios climáticos, sea por lluvia, sea por incendios forestales.
We were able to collaborate with Kappa Strategies. We had to put mobile sensors on our cars to be able to take temperature data. And then with this data, we were able to make an ambient heat map that the community can use to let them know about which areas are most affected by climate change or warmer temperatures.
Along with this Heat Watch campaign that provided us this data, we were able to determine who was going to be able to benefit from these air conditioning units. And these air conditioning units were given to us, thankfully, from OHA.
We were able to deliver and install around 200 AC units in homes.
Llevé en una ocasión un aire acondicionado a una señora que tiene diabetes, llorando, me dijo, 1000 gracias. No tengo el dinero para comprar un aire acondicionado. Y estaba súper agradecida con nosotros por eso.
Plantamos la semilla y ahora estamos cosechando, estamos recibiendo los frutos del trabajo que hemos hecho, de la colaboración que hemos hecho, de las asociaciones que hemos hecho con organizaciones como Northwest Family Services. Y queremos seguir, no nada más plantar ese árbol, pero plantarlos alrededor de toda la comunidad.
llevarlos no nada más en una vecindad, pero queremos recorrer todo el condado de Clackamas.
Es una gran satisfacción que ahora podemos tener esa conexión, esa mancuerna entre el condado de Clackamas, Salud Pública y OHA y nosotros con Northwest Family Services, que somos como ese puente para llegar a la comunidad.
The work that Clackamas County Public Health and Northwest Family Services is able to do together is thanks to public health modernization.
Oops, no. No, not again.
in charge, Andrew. There you go. Thank you.
Okay, so Public Health Modernization Plan. So like I said before, one of our funding deliverables and statutory requirements is to develop a plan for achieving public health system goals. The plan has to be submitted by the end of December, and the governing body, the BCC, shall review and make recommendations on the plan. So we have been working on our plan for the last year, and the full plan should be in your packet. And it really is built on lessons from the pandemic, from funding challenges, and of course, state law. It evaluates our capacity and costs to meet public health standards and identifies priorities, barriers, and challenges. It's informed by key assessments and plans, including a recent Community Health Needs Assessment with the Healthy Columbia Willamette Collaborative, which is all 4 health systems in the metro region, and the 3 health departments came together to do a regional Community Health Needs Assessment, as well as other plans like our Climate Adaptation Plan. It's guided by funding requirements and statewide performance metrics, and it aligns with county priorities such as Performance Clackamas and the H3S Action Plan. So like I said, our plan is guided by statewide accountability metrics. So this slide shows an example of one of our metrics, which is the up-to-date immunization rate for 2-year-olds. So as you can see on the graph, I know it's a little hard to see, but our rate did decrease during COVID, and it has been hovering around 70% for the last 3 years. And it's not a good sign that the rate is so low. It does put the county at risk for vaccine-preventable outbreaks such as measles, which we did have in August 2024, and which has been detected in the wastewater in Marion County. So these metrics are really how we show we're improving health through investments in public health modernization. The other 2 metrics that we're tracking are reducing the spread of syphilis and preventing congenital syphilis, which is a sexually transmitted disease. It was eradicated a long time ago, but it has come back and is rising. And also the other metric is around building community resilience for climate impacts on health, in particular extreme heat. So our plan includes a cost and capacity data that we collected in 2024. So each local public health authority across the state did an assessment that we used national standards, and we compared our current spending to what is needed to fully meet standards for a county our size. That's the cost component. And then we also completed a self-assessment, where we evaluated our expertise, so our knowledge and our skills, and our capacity, so our staff and resources, to determine our level of modernization implementation. So this is just one example. This is a foundational capability. It's communications. So communications and public health, this is where we provide clear, accurate, and timely health information across all of our public health areas. So it could be like a fentanyl awareness campaign or a community newsletter. And the results from our cost assessment show that we're about $400,000 short per year and about 0.5 FTE to meet standards for a county our size. And then our capacity assessment showed that we have proficient expertise but minimal capacity and limited implementation due to funding constraints. So how it works and the way we're structured right now, we have one communication specialist that's actually embedded in PGA. So she has excellent expertise but limited capacity to expand initiatives such as like campaigns because of funding. And then one of the foundational programs that I wanted to highlight is health promotion and disease prevention. And this is really an area where we have significant gaps. So health promotion, disease prevention focuses on health issues that affect social, emotional, physical health, and safety. They address contributors to chronic disease like poor nutrition, inadequate physical activity, substance use disorders, tobacco use, and suicide prevention. This work directly aligns with the Performance Clackamas goal of healthy people and supports implementation of the recovery-oriented system of care. So for this program area, we are short about 1.4 million per year and 13 FTE to meet national standards. And so because we're so underfunded in this area, we have basic expertise, minimal capacity, and limited implementation. We really only receive funding through tobacco prevention from the tobacco tax, some from the opioid settlement funding, and then a small amount from the CDC that's passed through OHA. And we're not really able to do any evidence-based prevention programs, or what we do is pretty minimal. So we rolled up the results and goals from each of our foundational programs and capabilities into 3 overarching goals. The first one is to sustain funding and workforce to provide essential public health services. The second one is to strengthen community and organizational partnerships to achieve shared goals. And the third one is to build systems that improve performance, accountability, and equity. So hopefully you've had a chance to review our plan. Hopefully I was able to provide you with a good understanding on your role as the Board of Health and our goals with public health modernization. So I'm very interested in your recommendations on our plan and public health in general. But for the purposes of today's meeting, you have 3 options for consideration. So to advance the plan as presented to a business meeting and then submission to OHA, could direct us to advance the plan with modifications or direct staff to pursue an alternate approach.
All right.
That's it.
Thank you. Questions from my colleagues? Commissioner Helm?
Thank you for this presentation. Very enlightening. And I do see that this is in the current budget, because that's a big increase in FTEs and in expenditures.
For the health promotion, is that what you're
Yes.
talking about? Yeah, so this is what we would need to meet federal standards, yeah, yeah.
One thing I didn't see mentioned, and forgive me for, I hate repeating what somebody else said, but I listen to podcasts because I like to learn. But I listened to one the other day with a doctor from the Mayo Clinic who said the number 1 cause of death in the United States is from the food we eat.
Say something about that.
And it was fascinating, what she brought about. I don't see that mentioned. Are we doing education on food as well? I know it's vaccinations, diseases, can be prevented from, if we do eat the right food. So I don't know, is that part of the package?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Unfortunately, we really don't have any funding to do any nutrition education or healthy eating, active living. Really, our focus is on tobacco prevention, substance use prevention, mental health promotion, because that is the funding we receive. And so that aligns with the results of the assessment too, which show that we are just really underfunded in that area. Yeah.
But you do inspect restaurants, right?
We do inspect restaurants. We keep
Yes.
your food healthy and safe.
You also inspect the food service in the jail. So I was always proud to say we had the AAA rating and the top rating, so making sure it was nice and clean. So very important service and definitely critical. I did have one question.
Yeah.
Are food carts required to have the same inspection that you do for regular restaurants? I don't know.
Yeah, they do. They are required to have a license, and they do have inspections. And the rules are slightly different than restaurants because they are set up differently, but they do have regulations for sure. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. All right, any other questions from my colleagues? All right, may I have a motion?
I move we direct staff to advance the plan as presented to a future business meeting for final approval and submission to the Oregon Health Authority.
I'll second that.
All right, Commissioner Savas has moved to direct staff to advance the plan as presented to future business meetings for final approval and submission. Commissioner Schrader has seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, clerk, would you please call the poll?
Commissioner Helm,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Mr. Chair.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0, Mr. Chair.
And thank you both very much. Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
I will now adjourn as the Board of Health and reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners. I'll turn to Gary. Is there anything else you have?
That's your last public session today.
All right, well, being our final policy session for this afternoon, unless there's any other matters, I want to thank you all for joining us, and we're adjourned.